Hi students, welcome back to class. In this class, I am going to continue The Alchemist. In the last class, there was a disconnection in the network, so I would like to continue from where we stopped. So let's start The Alchemist. We have not yet actually gone to The Alchemist. So before that, I would like to speak a few things about the play The Alchemist. It was published in 1612. It was performed on stage in 1610 by a company of actors known as King's Majesty's servants. So they were also called King's men. And it definitely belonged to the category of comedy of humors, though we are not able to see all the characteristic features of comedy of humors. It will come under the genre a comedy of humors. I've already told you this comedy of humors is a kind of drama developed by Ben Jonson, and that is rooted in the belief in the psychological or the physiological theory of humors, which was prevalent in 15th, 16th, and the later centuries. So, personality of a person depends on the proportion of humors in the body. That is the basic concept of the theory of humors. This play was set in the context of plague in London in 1610. There was plague in the European continent for a long time. There was something called the Black Death that started in the 14th century and it continued in different waves. Again in 1610, there was the plague that broke out, especially in some parts of the city. So during that time, many people in the city started evacuating. They started migrating to villages. So the setting is definitely London city. In other places, you might have seen actually setting in different places. If you remember Hamlet, it's again Denmark. Then Dr. Foster's, you have seen it is Wittenberg. And then if you remember that the Tempest, it's an unknown island away from the European continent. So almost all these dramas we have seen setting away from England. But here we see Ben Jonson keeping London City as its setting, and he gives an explanation for that also, which we'll be able to see in the later section. It was again based on the belief in alchemy, and this belief in alchemy was something people were fascinated about. Alchemy is again a branch of chemistry that believed that all base metals could be converted into stone, converted into gold. And they thought that by a process of chemical reaction, they could develop or they could get something called a philosopher's stone, which was equivalent to elixir or amrita, and which had a lot of qualities. It had beneficial to the users. So that was actually what people thought about alchemy. The other things other features I'll be explaining in the course of the play. And definitely this play comes under satire. So here Ben Jonson ridicules the follies of the people. And characters in the play. So we don't find actually a proper noun for character, but each character is named by a certain characteristic feature of that person or the traits of the person. So we can find subtle as the alchemist. Subtle is again an English word which we use in a day-to-day conversation. And the next one is the phase. Phase, you know what phase means. Phase is again the housekeeper, and next person is doll common. So doll common is again the it's like a doll which can be owned by any common person. So that is why this particular name doll common comes. Doll common is again the prostitute in the play. And the next character is tribulation. Is a pastor of Amsterdam. There was a practice of naming characters based on the Christian virtues. So here also we can see the practice of naming a character, naming a person based on virtues in Christianity. And the next person we can find is Drugger. That is again the Drugger is the person who follows a particular profession is a tobacco man, and Lovett is the master of the house, the one who loves wit. An epicure mammon is again a knight, and Surly is a gamester, Dapper a clerk. Ananias, this character also is in the Bible, so we find certain features that resemble the character Ananias in the Bible. And the next character is Castrel. We can find Dame Pliant, the one who is pliable, the one who is flexible. So that kind of a character also we can find here. Neighbors, officers, mutes. So in all these characters, we can find two women characters. One is Doll Common and the other one is Dame Plant. Okay, these are the two women we find in the characters in the play. And let's come to the argument in the play. So in the play itself, we can find before the beginning a section called argument, and after that there's prologue, and then only the play begins. So in the argument in the play itself speaks about the context of the play, and it mentions that plague has broke out in the city of London. And when the plague has broke out in the city of London in 1610, when the city is raging with the disease, when it is again stricken with the disease, people started leaving their houses. And here we can find the master of the house leaving his house in London. He has a house in the village area. In the village side, he has a house. In the countryside, he has a house. He lives for the house there. And when he leaves for the house in the countryside, there's a servant who is left all alone. Otherwise, the housekeeper who is left alone. And that housekeeper is a face we find in the play. And this housekeeper is idle all the time because he does not have any work to do. So he just starts singing about making money. How can he make use of this time and the opportunity to make money? So this idleness corrupts the servant. Just like we usually say, the proverb, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Idle mind is the devil's workshop. So that is what we find here. And he comes across a cheat and a prostitute. So that cheat is a subtle we'll see in the play, and a prostitute is again Doll Common. So he comes across them, and he starts developing the acquaintance with them, and he reaches an agreement, and they three of them agree that they can start a new plot to deceive people, and by that they'll be able to make money. So they want a place for that, and that place is again the house of Lovett. So the house of Lovett, which is deserted by the master, becomes a suitable place for attracting people and making money. And this is the argument in the play. And the prologue itself, we can speak some disclaimers given by the author. So first of all, he seeks the judgment of the audience. So it is again, it's very interesting to see how he actually starts that prologue. So here he says, fortune that favors fools, these 2 short hours we wish away, both for your sake and ours, judging spectators. So here he immediately says that it is fools that are favored by fortune. Okay, that is, fortune usually favors fools only. So he does not want fortune to favor the acting of the play. Instead, he wants the judgment of the audience. So he seeks the judgment of the audience. They want a wise judgment. Let them watch the play and let them judge the play. Let it not be given to the hands of the fortune. That is what the author says. He seeks justice to the author. That means in the prologue itself, the actors will be speaking justice to the author and kindness to the actors. Let them not be cruel to the actors. Let them not throw rotten eggs or anything on actors. So that is what the prologue says. And then here it's a kind of introduction to the play. So here the prologue, the selection of the setting is justified because it is mentioned that London is the act place. London is a place where one can find a number of thieves, corrupt persons, prostitutes, all kinds of vices and follies thrive in London. So there is no other place that is best suited for the setting of the play. And characters have different humors also, that also he mentions. And he in the prologue itself, Ben Jonson gives a reference to the term humors, and he speaks about the author's intention. He does not want to bring author into a problematic situation. He says that author does not have any intention to grieve the audience. Author does not want to hurt anybody, but may people actually listen to the action of the play on the stage very carefully and let them give the fair judgment. And he says that it is all about depiction of natural follies. So the follies are depicted in such a way that even the one who watches also will not think that he is offended. So everybody will be pleased by the way in which the follies are depicted. So that is what he tries to say in the beginning. That is what the prologue gives. And next come to the play. And when the play begins, we can see a room in Lovett's house. I've already told you these three cheats wanted space for the action to take place. So the scene is again a room in Lovett's house, and we can find Faze in a captain's uniform with a sword with drawn. So here sword drawn itself shows that he is actually in a bad temper only. So something is going to happen. It is as if he is going to attack the other person. He has drawn his sword, and we can find character Subtle. So Subtle is again the one who performs the role of the alchemist in the play, and he is with a vial. Vial is a kind of in a container or a bottle or something like test tube which has some chemicals in it. So he is now carrying a vial, and so at the beginning of the play itself we can find both of them quarreling with each other. So they quarrel with each other about the share of profit. So three of them have actually come to an agreement that whatever profit they get will be equally shared among the three persons. But here Sutton just starts showing off that he is the important person in the plot, and without him this particular scheme of alchemy, or the plot to make money will not happen at all. And he now starts demanding a major share. So this is something that is not acceptable to face. And later we can find Doll also interfering in the quarrel. So here both of them start fighting, and they quarrel in the name of getting the major share, and they start using abusive words, very vulgar words. Actually we can see in the very beginning of the play itself, we can see the characters using very abusive words, calling each other names and then abusive words, which I'm not interested to tell you. And so as they keep on actually shouting at each other and calling names, Doll just interferes, and Doll does not want them to shout loudly because they fear that they are not afraid of anything now, because they are in a passionate mood. They are actually in a their senses are out of control. They're out of their mind only. So they are not thinking about the consequences of shouting at each other in a very loud voice. So they shouting itself is again in a very loud voice only. So we can know that. So Dawn just wants to prevent this shouting because she thinks that if the neighbors overhear that, neighbors will get doubts about the things happening in the house, and they may call the police, and they may even arrest. Something may happen to them. So in order to allow this plan to continue, Doll just tries to bring some sense to the mind of both the characters, but we don't see both of them listening to Doll. So they start calling each other names again. They start calling each other dog and all those things. Okay, I'm not going to the details of the names they call each other. And so the thing is that Subtle is not ready to accept the Faze supremacy or the suzerainty. The Faze is also not ready to accept Suttle's claim of sharing a major portion of the profit. And they remind here Faze and Subtle, both of them actually remind each other of their former conditions only. So here it is, remind each other of the former condition. That is, Faze reminds Subtle of his former condition, and Subtle reminds Faze of his former condition. So we have to understand that both of them before meeting each other is not in a good condition only, not in a good condition. Somehow they are just going on and living, that's all. We don't find them thriving in any way. So here each person starts demanding gratitude for what the other person has done. So here Faze demands gratitude from Subtle for what Phase has done to Subtle. Subtle also demands gratitude from Phase for what Subtle has done to him. So that is actually the context here, and we can find Phase reminding Subtle of his former condition. That is, Subtle is again a person who has not been even eating well, who is starved only, and he is does not even have clothes to wear. That is why it is mentioned that starved and poorly clad, and does not even have proper slippers also to wear. So in that condition only, our Face happens to see Subtle. And here he mentions the place where he meets Subtle. So here he says that Phase meets Subtle at an inn called Pie Corner. So this is actually a place where some restaurants are located, and this is in a place near Smithfield. So here, I mean, Subtle cannot actually go to that pie corner, and he cannot go and have his food because he does not even have enough money to go there and afford to buy food for him. But he just smells the food that is being cooked over there, and he just gets bits and pieces of the food he left over by the people. So that is how Subtle has been living um, when Face first meets him. And so it is again, though he has been actually practicing this alchemy, he has been telling about the effects of horoscope, or telling about the telling about his potential to predict the future of others. So he has been actually involved in a number of these kind of deceptive practices. Subtle has not been able to live properly. That means Subtle does not even have anything to eat at all, anything to clothe himself. So in that very poor condition only, Face happens to meet Subtle. So that is what Face just reminds Subtle of, and he says that he should be grateful to Face. So that is what Subtle is supposed to do. Instead of that, Subtle is just trying to demand major share, or of that enterprise. Okay, whatever they are doing, the profit should not be distributed equally. Instead, he wants major share. That is what Subtle demands. And Face, then Subtle also does not keep quiet. Okay, so Subtle also starts shouting at him, and Subtle says that when he has first met Face, okay, Face has been living all alone in the house, and nobody else is there in the house because the house owner has already left for the countryside, and he has a few provisions in the house, and with this few provisions he has been just trying to live in the house, and some beer is there in the house. That is again, something that has to be distributed to the poor. So that also this Face has actually given to the distillers. So these distillers actually adulterate this beer and they sell it at a higher cost. So even whatever that is left at home also, he has been actually selling these things in different quantities, and to different people who are actually trying to make money profit. So in that way, this Face has been trying to live. That is the condition of Face when um, Subtle meets Face, and he's not by anybody. Nobody even knows that there is a human being called Face who lives in that house, and he has been living in the company of cobwebs or spiders. Only these insects are there in the house. Other than that, there is nobody else even to speak to him. So that is the depraved condition of Face. And so here each one starts speaking about their each one's former condition, and each one just wants the other person to acknowledge the work the other one has done. So here it is mentioned that Face does not get any profit or anything. I mean, he just gets a meager amount by selling the provisions in the house, and he even actually collects the bits of bread, crumbs of bread, and with that also he just tries to live. That is the poor circumstance. So there is the circumstances in which this Face has been living, and he lives on tips received from gentlemen. A few gentlemen may be giving some of the other kinds of tips, so with that also he has been living. So Subtle claims of teaching, but now Subtle says that in such a depraved state, Subtle happens to meet Face, and Subtle has taught him a lot of things. Face does not even know how to behave properly with the people around. He does not know good manners, and he is the one who has actually taught him how to behave in a sophisticated manner, how to please others, and he just tells all these things. And he has even taught him how to do cheating in Beijing bed, then again, um, even in talking to others and then selling and all those things. Even the cheating also should be done in a convincing way. So that is again done by the training is given by subtle. That is what here he says. And as they go on, actually speaking to one another about the merit or the help each one has given. So doll is really afraid of the problems, the consequences that may come because of the shouting. And here we can see in page 98, actually each person calls each one some names. Okay, page 98, the beginning, the phase will call subtle, uh, board, and subtle calls in cowherd, conjurer, cutpurse, witch. So these are the actually some terms they use when they get angry with each other and they start calling each other these names. And doll has been trying to bring sense to their mind, but they don't listen to the doll's words at all. And here even face threatens subtle of revealing his practice of conjuring the spirit, because conjuring the spirit is again punishable by law only. And if he reveals that to the police, there is a chance of subtle getting punished, subtle being imprisoned also. So here Faze in his anger tells that he is ready to reveal that also, and he even threatens to put up a poster outside St. Paul's Cathedral. That is again a very famous cathedral only, and in that outside the cathedral, he is ready to reveal even Suttle's cheating also. Whatever cheating practices he has been doing in the name of alchemy, how he has been cheating people, how he has been raising spirits, and he says that he has command over the spirits, and how he uh, says that is able to predict the future of other persons, and how he says that he is able to cure the people around. So all the small uh, corrupt practices he has been doing, all the deceptive practices he has been doing, all these things will be written down in a paper, and that will be written down in a poster, and that will be displayed outside the St. Paul's Cathedral. That is what Faye says. St. Paul's Cathedral is a key area in the city. If that is displayed, definitely that will be the end to the Suttle's enterprises. Subtle cannot do any such enterprises further in his life. So he will be trying to control Suttle's enterprises, and that is what he tries to threaten Subtle. And here we can find Doll understands that her words are not going to be listened to by any of the by both of them, and she just comes and starts shouting at them, and she says that she is ready to cut the throats. Okay, if Faze is ready to reveal uh, Suttle's deceptive practices, all three of them will be their plans will be unraveled, and everybody will get to know about it, and that will be like inviting danger to all three of them. So that is what she says, that she is ready to cut their throats also. Faze and Doll assert their claim. So here Faze now tells Doll that the Subtle is now planning to get more profit from the enterprise, and Subtle says that he is the inevitable part of the this plot, and if he is not there, nothing can be done. So when he demands major share, Doll also gets angry with that, and now Faze and Doll are seen together, and they also assert their claim in getting equal share of the profit. It doesn't mean that Subtle is the one who is doing the major work and Subtle wants more profit. That cannot be accepted at all. So both of them say that they also are they also claim equal share, because they are also eligible for that. They are also doing the work in the best possible way. If these two do not cooperate, Subtle will not be able to get any money at all. And so if Faze actually does not bring the people to Subtle, Subtle will not be able to dupe anybody. If Doll does not satisfy the people who come to this house for sexual gratification, and then they won't be able to get money at all. So actually, by the help of the these three persons act together in a harmonious way. In that way only they are able to get profit. So this is what Faze and Doll say, and they assert their claim in getting equal share of the profit. And Doll again reminds them that neighbors will call the police, and they may even send them to jail also, because neighbors might have overheard their conversation, might have overheard them shouting at each other. So there is every possibility of the neighbors around them to call the police and then get them arrested. So that won't be a good sight to be watched by anybody. And here doll is not ready to bear even that. Also doll does not want to get arrested, because doll has been living as a prostitute and she does not want anyone to come and arrest her and then put a threat on her life. And somehow they understand that if they go on fighting, that will be a danger to all of them. It is doll who actually brings some sense to the minds of the both the people. And doll even tells face that she's ready to strangle Subtle. And now doll and face, both of them try to strangle Subtle. As they try to strangle Subtle, Subtle knows that there is no way out for him. He has to agree to what these two say. So he finally agrees, and then we can see the quarrel being patched up. It is because of the dramatic action or the crucial action taken by Dodd that Subtle comes to understand the situation. Otherwise, Subtle may even lose his life. So that's why there is a patching up of the quarrel, and they decide to do the work together in a very harmonious way. And they say that they forget all their enmity, or all the bad words they have exchanged, and all the bad words they have showered on each other, and they'll try to continue their enterprise in a full-fledged way. So that is what they say. And it is at this time a bell is heard ringing at the door, and here it is a sign that somebody else has come. So Faze has actually done his duty very well. Faze has invited the persons from the other places, and he knows that that must be a person named Dapper, and he's a lawyer's clerk, and he must be the person who has come to uh, visit Subtle. And so I have already told you that Faze goes outside. Faze actually starts talking to the people around, and he speaks about the benefit of alchemy. He speaks about the existence of a great conjurer, or the great scientist, okay, the great doctor. So here they'll be calling Subtle doctor. That does not mean that he's a physician. So they say that he's a person who is a good scholar. So in that way they'll be addressing Subtle, and this scholarly gentleman will be able to solve all the issues, and he'll be able to help people in making money. So that kind of a canvassing is done by Faze. He has already done that to a few customers, and by the effect of his canvassing we can find this customer coming here. That is again customer or client. That person is a Dapper. So here he knows that that must be Dapper, because that's the time he has told this Dapper to come. So he is waiting at the doorstep. Okay, so with that actually I'm just concluding today's lesson. And in the next lesson actually I'm just trying to come to the second scene of the play. So I want all of you to listen to the lecture and take down the notes. So I'm just giving you the story in a nutshell, and along with the narrating the story I'll be telling you some analysis of the part also, which will be helpful to you to understand it very thoroughly. So this play is again a very comic play only, and we can find how these people just try to cheat one another. What are the techniques they use, okay, how they can cheat one another, and how they are actually thriving on by cheating, and how much trustworthy they are, that also will come to know by the end of the play. So people's greed is one of the reasons for bringing destruction on themselves. So that kind of a belief, that kind of a thought is actually brought forward by Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson seems to be laughing at the people's foolishness. So that is what we see in the play. So with that actually I'm now winding up this class. So students, keep on listening to the lectures. So I'll come with the continuation of Act 1 in the next class. So till then, bye.